Giving our praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Charakat, double honors to all the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutes, shouts, all the sincere elect out there, keep fighting, Akim. Almost out of this bitch, loud willing. Aria coming back at you with another lesson. A quick, a little bit of history. We're going to touch on a little bit of the Hanukkah. What is Hanukkah? Get into the scriptures, right? Because it was a pivotal moment in, as they put it, Jewish history, in our history. So what is Hanukkah? And we're going to get to the scriptures. So Google, what does Google say? So the Jewish festival of lights, an 8-day winter celebration commemorating the rededication of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem after the Maccabees' victory over the Greeks, Syrian forces, and a miracle where a single day's worth of oil miraculously lasted for 8 days. And I'm going to say it like that. There is no L's, no losses, right, with the Most High. And when we're right, miracles happen, right? Miraculously, oil miraculously. So there, and a miracle where a single day's worth of oil miraculously lasted for 8 days. All right, let me carry on reading. It's just a little bit of history. I'm going to get to the scriptures. People celebrated by lighting a menorah, a 9-branched candle brim each night, with one additional candle lit each evening, and often exchange gifts, ate special foods like, we're going to explain the foods, all different types of foods there, right? Lakes and all different types of food. Played games, right? We had a little, we broke bread the other day. It was a Hanukkah Saturday evening. We broke bread. We had a little exchange, with the Akim, right? So this takes place, and we're explaining the reasons here, getting into the root of it, the history of it, the historical context of it. Over 2,000 years ago, the Syrian Greek king Antiochus the third tried to force Jews to abandon their religion and worship Greek gods. Right? And it breaks that down in First Maccabees. When you get into First Maccabees, reading from about 41. The revolt, a small band of Jewish rebels led by Judah Maccabees, fought against the oppression. Rededication. After winning the war, the Maccabees returned to Jerusalem and found the Holy Temple desecrated. They cleansed it and rededicated it back, right? Back to worship, right? And miracles took place because we had the backing of the Most High. They found a tiny jar of pure oil, olive oil, enough for 1 day, but it miraculously burned for 8 days, allowing time to prepare more oil. Right, lighting. There you go. So it's called Hanukkah. Right, there's many that's the description here. All right, and we get into another from the scriptures. Here we got a review. Second Maccabees. We're going to read it, but the review briefly describes it. How Judas Maccabees and his followers, guided by the Lord, successfully recaptured the temple, the city of Jerusalem. They then destroyed the altars set up by foreigners, purified the sanctuary, making a significant moment in their struggle for religious freedom. Right? We know how they're putting it like as if it's, the people them, the big hat people them, with the small noses, and we know the history. So, a significant moment in our history, right? Just a little bit more, because I was looking into this a little bit. What is Hanukkah? Right, we looked at it, what Google had to say. What does it say? What does Google say about it in the scriptures, in the Bible? Hanukkah is not the Hebrew Bible, but its historical event are detailed in the books of Maccabees, which are not part of the Hebrew Bible, according to them. The holiday is mentioned in the New Testament Gospel of John, where it is called the Feast of Dedication, and Jesus celebrated it. Hanukkah commemorates the rededication of the Second Temple in Jerusalem after the Maccabees defeated the Greeks. Right, that's according to what they say, how they describe it in the Bible. Another word I looked up here, Maccabees, the Jewish priestly family and the leaders of a successful revolt. He sums it up briefly here. Here it is 167, 1660 BCE against the Seleucid Empire, oppressive rule in Judah. There you have it. Culminating in the restoration of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, an event. So the Third Temple is here, right? That's Yahshua, right? He's otherwise described in his woman. You can read about that in Revelations 21, right? Where he's cleaning us up as we speak, dusting us down. That's why we stood up with great boldness, right? And he's breathed, Ezekiel 37, the breath of life back into his woman, only to clean her up and to get her back right. So the reunion is going to take place. When that happens, right, it's going to be the Third Temple. And the third, as we know it, is being rebuilt and cleaned up now and prepared for Yahushua's return. Revelation 21. So, but this describes it as the Second Temple in Jerusalem, an event celebrating as Hanukkah led by Judas Maccabees, the Hammer. The Hammer, yeah. Their rebellion established the independent kingdom, significant period in Jewish history, and are remembered as symbols of faith, courage, and freedom, with accounts found in the book of Maccabees and Josephus to read more about that. So another thing I tapped in. So Judas Maccabees, Hammer. Just curiosity, which I did not know, but for those that maybe didn't know, what is Hammer or Maccabees? What does it mean? Maccabees were a family of Jewish, as they put it, rebel leaders who in the 2nd century BCE led a successful revolt against the Seleucid Greek occupiers in Judah, reclaiming and rededicating the temple in Jerusalem. And we sound like broken records, but this is an important part in our history, right? We won't be doing, continuing the way of remembrance, right? Because Esau, he loves to push his unholy days. He loves to push them. We just recently had what do they call that? I don't even remember what it's called now. but we got the so-called Christmas coming up. All these pagan days. Just recently had that. What they call it, man? Lord willing, it comes back to me. But they have their special high holy days anyway, and they may come, and they want you in so many ways. They want you to take part in it because they want to push that paganism on you, right? The name Maccabees meaning happy or extinguisher, right? Meaning hammer. Maccabees meaning hammer or extinguisher, like refers to Judah Maccabees' false fighting. But in Jewish tradition, it also an carrion for the battle cry. Right, enough said. There you go, man. Who is like you among the gods? Oh Lord notes. So hammer, right? The name Maccabees means hammer or extinguisher, and that's exactly what they did when they had to. When the Spirit of the Lord was on them. Let's read the scripture, and then we're gonna end it. And we're gonna end it off. So 2nd Maccabees chapters 10. You have to get that in the Apocrypha. We're gonna read chapters 10. We're gonna read from up to around 9th verse. So Maccabees and his followers, the Lord leading them on, recovered the temple and the city. They tore down the altars that had been built in the public square. And I like, when you have these, if this was a movie, this would be well, we know Esau ain't gonna be pushed these type of movies. This is too righteous. This is a righteous movie on the right hand side. And on top of all of that, how it ends as well. Right? Esau don't like happy endings when it comes to You know, what they call so-called black people. He doesn't like happy endings, and it's never a happy ending. And when you get into some of the movies, when you look into a lot of the movies with Jake in them, Jake go down, he'd be getting it. He'd be getting all the treatment, all the bad treatment, all the bad deaths. You know what I mean? Jake be getting the low end of the stick, right? The short straw in movies. But this is a movie that they never go and push because it has a happy ending, right? Altars that had been built in the public square by the foreigners, and also, so they was all destroyed, the sacred precincts, they purified the sanctuary and made another altar of sacrifice. Then striking fire out a flint, they offered sacrifices after a lapse of 2 years, and they offered incense and lighted lamps and set out the bread of the presence. When they had done this, they fell prostrated. Right, that's what you call celebrating right there. Prostrated to the Most High and implored the Lord that they might never again fall unto such misfortunes, but that if they would even sin, that might be disciplined. Right, if they would even sin, they might be disciplined by him with fervence and not be handed over to the blasphemers, right? The enemy, right? In this case, it was Antiochus Epiphanes, right? Over to the blasphemers and barbarous nations, barbarians, man. The things that they did, that they had the woman and their children do, the things that they had done to the unfaithful of our people, man. It was barbaric to say the least. All the things that they did when they wanted to get us to do away with our customs and our history, right? These barbaric people, right? And they continue with all of that when you get into all the history, in the book, all the historical books about slavery and the lynching and the castrating and all of that. It happened that on that same day, right, on which the sanctuary had been profaned by the foreigners, the purification of the sanctuary took place. That is on the 25th day of the same month, which was Chislev, I'm pronouncing it right. They celebrated it for 8 days with rejoicing in the manner of festival of booths, remembering how not long before, during the festival of booths, they had been wandering in the mountains and caves like wild animals, therefore carrying ivy, wounds, and beautiful branches, also palm found. They offered hymns of thanksgiving. The psalms, which all the psalms are praises or songs, psalms of thanksgiving, reformations. That's why they sung. They also sung psalms as well. Specific one that I like is that there's all of them really, but Psalms 30. Right, to whom he had given successful to be purified of his own holy place, they decreed by public edict, redefied by vote, that the whole nation of the Jews should observe these days every year. That's why we do it every year. Right, they got their high holy days as we know it. Oh, Thanksgiving, it just come back to me. They just had their Thanksgiving. Right, and now they've got coming around this high holy day, the big one for them, Christmas. That's all they got to look forward to. These unholy days where all the things go be happening, people be going missing, specifically children be going missing, right? So this is their high holidays. They keep them theirs every year by design, right? Religiously, so we keep ours every year, as it says here. Should observe these days every year. Such then was the end of Antiochus, who was called Epiphanes. There you have it. Right, so was it a happy ending? There's always a happy ending. It's going to be the title of this video. There's always a happy ending when we're right with Yahshua Allah. Right, because Yahshua Allah doesn't take L's. And when we're right, we don't take L's. So this was the recovery, right, of the uncleansing, the reverse of the uncleansing, which was the purification of the temple after what this person did, Antiochus Epiphanes. So he got his comeuppance, the bad guy. So that makes the movie a happy ending for us. Hence why we celebrate it every year, right? As they call it, right? They call it the Hanukkah Festival of Lights. The Wadi Yahweh Shai, Kala Yahweh Shai. Until the next one. They're always a happy ending with Yasha Allah, right? When we're right with our power, right? The power, the Maccabees, I like that word there. The Maccabees, hammer or extinguisher, right? So the third temple is being built up as we speak, right? We're going to be hammering. We're going to be hammering them. The Wadi Yahweh Shai, Kala Yahweh Shai. Till the next one.